Okay, we now move to Resolution 15 on a consumer-friendly energy market, to be moved by Callum McCaig MP, and if John West could be ready to second.
Good afternoon, folks. There's lots of you and it's wonderful. This is the second year in a row that I've been stood up by one of my parliamentary colleagues when I've stood up to do a parliamentary double act. Angus MacNeil was due to second this, but he is opening the mod in Stornoway, which I think is a fair excuse, unlike Kirsty Blackman last year when she just missed her flight. She'll be here somewhere. I hope she's heard that. If she's not here, can someone feed that back to her? Scotland, as you will all know, we are blessed in terms of energy potential. And that potential, for a lot of the way, has been realised. Not necessarily to the best use of our people, and that's something that I hope this resolution can change. For the last year at Parliament, I had the dubious pleasure of shadowing Amber Rudd and Andrea Leadsom. Yes, indeed, as they took the hatchet to Scotland's renewable energy. Onshore wind, solar, biomass, all cut. Industries that had the potential to flourish and bring down costs substantially whilst cutting our carbon emissions were sacrificed on the Tory altar of austerity at the same time as we are putting billions and billions of pounds at a much, much higher rate into nuclear power. Now, you may ask yourselves why, and in what other ways is our energy potential constrained? Well, last year also saw the closure of Launa Power Station, largely because of the iniquitous transmission charges, which meant that if you produce electricity in Scotland, you have to pay to put it onto the grid, whereas if you produce it next to London, they will pay you to put it on the grid. I have real concerns, confidence, that unless we declare energy independence from the UK, then that we will not see new thermal generation happen in Scotland. We will not have the capacity that we require to supplement the enviable position we have with renewables without an end to the transmission charging regime, which the government at Westminster is unwilling and seemingly unable to turn around. But we can do better. We absolutely can. We absolutely must do better. If we have our own energy system, we can build a system that works not just for our people, but for our planet. With wind, with solar, offshore wind, biomass, hydro. Along with some storage and potentially some backup gas, we have the potential to have a viable system that works for our country, not for others. That is something that we must seek to achieve. It's there for us to take, and I think if we can pass this by acclaim today, we will have that system where it will work for our country much better than it has under remote control from the Tories. Thank you very much.
John West to second the resolution.
Thank you, Susan, and thanks, Callum. The Hinkley C nuclear power plant, which now appears certain to go ahead, has been guaranteed an electricity price of £92.50 per megawatt hour for the next 35 years. To put that in context, over the last 5 years, the highest day-ahead baseload price was £62.90, a third less. The current energy price is around about £40 per megawatt hour. The UK government is guaranteeing a massive nuclear plant double the current electricity price for 35 years, adjusted for inflation every single year. To put that into perspective in terms of renewables, Dong Energy is currently building 2 large offshore wind farms, offshore wind projects being traditionally one of the more expensive forms of renewable energy, for a guaranteed price of £62 per megawatt hour, significantly cheaper than Hinkley. We've been told that this massive nuclear white elephant is necessary to keep the lights on and to keep the bills down. In fact, nothing could be further from the truth. This is a government vanity project in a dangerous industry that will burden us with hundreds of years of radioactive legacy, which will have to be paid for by our grandchildren's grandchildren's grandchildren. The UK government, thank you. The UK government has been shambolic in terms of energy in recent times. The Contracts for Difference Round 2 auction, which was supposed to award contracts to renewable suppliers over the next few years, was meant to have been completed on the 21st of October 2015. The date hasn't even been announced. Major projects are being stalled, cancelled and abandoned. 12,000 people in the UK have lost their jobs in the solar industry alone. Thousands of projects are at risk, and the Parliament has warned their own government that if we don't take action on carbon capture and storage, it's going to cost us £1 to £2 billion per year in the 2020s, leading up to £4 and £5 billion a year in the 2040s. This kind of inaction, abolishing DEC while the Brexit department expands exponentially daily, is madness. We need a coherent Scottish energy policy, and we need Scotland to have control of our own energy policy so we can make sensible decisions for the future. Thank you, Delegate.
Lorna Finn to speak in favour of the resolution. And Lorna is also a first-time speaker at conference.
Thank you. Good afternoon, friends. Conference, I was lucky enough to work within the renewables industry, and I have seen firsthand the potential that we have to grow and develop and progress our nation's goals around climate change and clean, green energy. The Scottish Government has set one of the most ambitious climate change targets in the world, and we need strong investment in order to meet those targets. Conference, the Paris Agreement on climate change will become law in November of this year. 79 of the 197 member states have ratified the agreement. Theresa May has made it known that the UK will follow three of the world's largest polluters, India, China and the USA, in ratifying this agreement at the end of the year. In conference, the Prime Minister's commitment to this will be welcome, but we must hold her to account and make sure that she upholds this commitment. Given that her past regressive energy policies, you have to wonder whether the Tories really have a desire to tackle climate change, or if this is just grandstanding on an international stage. I would like to repeat some of the words of our First Minister yesterday. We are one of the wealthiest nations on earth. We are rich in natural resources. We are world leaders in life sciences, technology and renewables. The early removal of renewable subsidy has a long-term damaging effect, not only on our economy, jobs and the industry, but on our planet. Our future is a renewable one, and one that we are one of the very fortunate nations on this earth to have natural resources that support a renewable future in abundance. Investment in a new generation of nuclear power at the expense of low-carbon, cleaner, greener alternatives only further indicates the divergence of political ideology between the Scottish and UK government. We have the potential to be world leaders in renewable energy. The removals of subsidies does not only turn off investment, it has the potential to suppress innovation. We must invest in the future in energy storage technology that will allow us to maximise our output potential and developing new and more efficient ways to manage our energy needs. We will ultimately move away from a reliance on finite fossil fuels. Conference, please support the motion.
Callum McCaig to sum up for the resolution.
I think wind power is a good thing, first and foremost, and I think it gives us a huge potential for clean energy. But we need a diverse mix. And with a diverse mix, it will mean not just wind, but it will mean solar, it will mean tidal, which has great potential, and again, potentially being failed by the UK government. But we also need storage, both conventional hydro storage and potentially new battery storage. The energy market is changing and changing rapidly, and I want to see us be in a position to take advantage of that for ourselves, for the good of our public, for the good of our country. And we have a short window of time to do that. The mover of the remit back talked about the imbalances there. When the two nuclear power stations close in the next decade, we will be solely in the position of producing renewables. We need to close that gap in between the time between now and the mid-2020s. Westminster will not do it for us. We must do it for ourselves.
OK, conference, we'll move first of all to the vote on the remit back. Can I see cards in favour of the remit back? And cards against the remit back? The remit back falls. And we'll move to the vote on the resolution. Can I see cards in favour of the resolution? And cards against the resolution? The resolution is overwhelmingly carried. Thank you very much, Conference. I might have something.